Have you ever looked at your child in the middle of a meltdown and thought, this just doesn't make sense? The reaction feels bigger than the moment, and no matter what you try, it doesn't seem to help. But what if your child's behavior isn't the problem? What if it's a signal? For many kids, especially those with sensory processing challenges, emotional dysregulation, ADHD, or even DMDD, what looks like defiance is often something deeper. And when we begin to understand that, everything starts to shift. This episode is part of our Summit Spotlight series, where we're sharing expert insights from speakers who presented at last year's Calm Connection Parenting Summit. Over the next couple weeks, I'll be sharing more about an exciting event that's coming soon for parents raising emotionally intense kids. I can promise you this, you won't want to miss it. So tune in next week to hear more about that event. And don't forget to join the Calm Connection Parenting Facebook group so that you can learn more about the upcoming online event. Today, we're going to hear from Carol Stock Kranowitz, best-selling author of the Out of Sync Child series and a pioneer in sensory processing awareness. So, without further ado, let's get started. Ever feel like one meltdown turns your day upside down? Are you walking on eggshells with emotions and challenging behaviors? Need peace in your home? You're in the right place. I'm Jamie, mom of 7, professional counselor and parent coach. I've learned how to turn chaos into calm, stop meltdowns, and enjoy time as a family. If you're looking for effective tools, practical ways to connect with your uniquely wired child, and parenting tools that align with faith and family values, you've found it. So reheat that coffee, start that laundry fluffing again, and let's jump in. Carol's book was actually one of my first glimpses into understanding sensory processing, something that honestly hadn't even been on my radar with my other kids. But when I suddenly found myself parenting a child where it did matter, her book helped me begin to understand what was really going on. So it was truly a joy to meet the author of this amazing book, someone who played such a key role in helping me make sense of something that was so incredibly important, not just to our child, but our entire family. I think you're going to find her just as insightful, engaging, and helpful. So let's jump in to this conversation. I'm excited to have Carol Stock Kranowitz with us today, and she is an educator, a best-selling author of the Out of Sync Child series, several books, and her collection of books has helped countless families better understand and support children with sensory processing challenges. I have to admit, her book was one of the very first books that I found on sensory processing, and at the time I was just looking for answers, and Out of Sync felt like it fit. So she's here to help us recognize how these differences in sensory processing might impact the whole family, and what we can do to restore that balance and connection. Thank you for being here, Carol.
Oh, it's my great pleasure.
Well,
Wonderful.
First of all, I would just love to know what brought you into this area or this field of study.
Well, it was a serendipitous thing. I was a rather a green preschool teacher and was teaching at an independent school in Washington, D.C., and was very curious about the kids I considered out of sync. These were not children with special needs. We had lots of them at our school. We loved them. We recruited them, in fact, to come to this school. These children had no identifiable physical issues, and yet they would not put their hands in the finger paint, or they didn't want to try the grape at snack time, or they would complain about the guitar. If I strummed the guitar, I wasn't great, but I wasn't that bad. Go like
It
this.
didn't merit covering the ears,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And they worried. They seemed anxious, and some wouldn't let their feet leave the ground. They never got on the playground equipment. What was going on? So I was very pleased when a um, pediatric occupational therapist volunteered to give the staff a workshop on what was then called sensory integration dysfunction. And it's gone through several name permutations. We're calling
Right.
sensory processing differences now to get away from the negativity of it,
Right.
because sometimes it's wonderful to have sensory
Yeah.
differences.
It can be
Um,
unique wiring is how I like to refer to it. It's
yeah,
unique wiring.
right,
That's right. Well, what a
right.
journey
So,
that has been.
so I learned about it. I found out what patterns to look for in children who were avoiding sensations or craving certain sensations, and wanted to read about it, and there was nothing to read. So this therapist said to me, "Well, you like to write a book." So I
Oh, I'm
did.
so glad you did. And then you didn't stop at just one, you kept
Um,
going. So there's
absolutely.
more.
Right.
Very, very good. All right, well, let's just jump in and let's just start with some of the basics because I know that even as a mom of seven, I hadn't really heard about sensory processing. And I'm guessing we may have other parents here today, and maybe you haven't heard about it either. So why don't you just explain briefly what is sensory processing?
Okay. Sensory processing is what we do all day long. We take in gazillions of sensations through receptors all through our body, and these whiz into our central nervous system, and our central nervous system, with the brain at the top, says, "Whoa, back away from that cliff. Don't touch that hot fire. Spit out that sour milk. Cover your ears if the dynamite blowing up is too loud." So we have our sensory systems tell us what to do, how to behave in response to all kinds of sensations that we're getting during the day. If we have a mosquito bite, our tactile system, our sense of touch, says scratch it.
Right.
If we're getting tingly legs because we've been in the same position on an airplane, we readjust our legs. So
Right.
this is what's going on all the time. For people with sensory processing differences, they will be getting the same sensations, but it gets jumbled in their nervous system. It's like a neurological traffic jam.
Yeah.
So they won't take their hand fast enough away from the fire,
Mhm.
or they won't get on the swing because they think if their feet leave the ground, they will fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
It is a primal fear
Mhm.
for people whose sensory uh, interpretation is out of sync.
Yeah, that's a
And
great explanation. That's
yeah,
great. Tell me this, how might sensory processing differences or issues show up in everyday life or be impacting families?
the child who doesn't want to get out of bed, can't get dressed, wants to wear his socks and t-shirts inside out because the seams bother him,
Mhm.
won't eat breakfast, um, thinks so poorly of himself. A lot of these children are very anxious and very self-deprecating. It's common to hear kids with SPD say, "I'm so dumb."
Mm.
They are clumsy, and then uh, they cause the family to not be able to do the things that they know the family wants to do, like go to a picnic
Mhm.
or go to a movie. And or there are some children who only eat cold food.
Mhm.
And what I learned when I was writing The Out of Sync Child Grows Up
Yes.
This is about teenagers and young adults.
Mhm.
I didn't know this, Jamie. I, I didn't know the shame that so
Mhm.
many people with sensory issues feel
Wow.
because of the uh, fallout from their sensory needs, the fallout that affects the family.
Wow.
And my mission is to get
Mhm.
families to understand it's all about the body. If the
Yeah.
child um, if his temperature is running differently from yours
Mhm.
and he pulls his sweater off, let him pull off his sweater. You know,
Right.
it's okay. You might want a sweater. If he doesn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to um, eat crunchy food because he only wants smooth food in his mouth, well, that's kind of, I want children to eat well balanced meals, but I wouldn't expect or force a child to eat something that is repellent. And
Right.
the, the, the reason the food can not be satisfactory is because of the
Mhm.
texture or the temperature or
Right.
how much chewing it requires. And this is all sensory. This is the
Yeah.
tactile system is our touch system. How does it
Right.
feel? How does it feel in the mouth? The proprioceptive system is about how much oomph we have in our muscles and joints. And some kids
Mhm.
don't have it in their
Yeah.
jaws to masticate a
Mhm.
hamburger bite.
Yeah.
They might swallow it too soon.
Right. Even the
Gag.
gag reflex can be a part of that. I know that was one of the first things I felt so guilty about is that I had taken it so personally that one of our kiddos would gag on my mashed potatoes. And I thought, this is so ridiculous. You're just being stubborn. Eat the mashed potatoes. And honestly, after reading your book, I was like, oh, I bet there was something more to that than the fact that my feelings got hurt over the mashed potatoes. There was something real there. So it can be, and even those small things that we don't think of.
That's right. That's right. Because we have to consider that every child wants to please mom and dad and teacher. Every child wants to learn, and and when a child is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, don't
Yeah.
touch me, don't make me listen, don't make me look at it, don't. It's goes back to the body.
Right.
Something is making the child think I have to survive, I have to push away a sensation if I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Or there are also are the children, while avoiding sensations is the most common kind of sensory processing difference we see, there's the flip side, which is the child who craves sensation.
Right.
And this too can disrupt the family when the child is, I want all the mashed potatoes.
Right.
And
And I'm going
I
to
want
stuff my mouth full of all
that.
of the mashed potatoes.
That's what I was
That's
going to
so true. That's a good point. And then I think too, Carol, there's this real confusion because about the time you start thinking, oh, okay, my child avoids, then you see that, well, but in this area, they crave or seek. And so it can be the confusion of alternating with different
Yes,
systems or sensations. And it can feel a little bit complicated.
it can indeed. A common combination is a child who has tactile over responsivity. That's where the neurological threshold is very low. So in come touch sensations, and the child can't handle them. Clothing, um, hugs from grandma
Ah,
or kisses,
yeah.
food in the mouth, all those things are very irritating. And that same child who has the low threshold, where
Mm-hmm.
there's too much touch to deal with, may be the child with a high threshold for movement. And this child's vestibular and proprioceptive senses, but proprioceptive um, input is about what we're feeling in our muscles and joints. So when we
Right.
flex and extend, we're getting proprioception in. And the vestibular system has to do with our balance and movement.
Right.
That same child who complains about
Not hugging mom or
the dot. I know a kid who would pick out the little black seeds on the outside of a strawberry. That took a lot of time to
yeah.
get to those strawberry. He wouldn't eat any dots. Okay.
Mhm.
That same kid can be craving outside time, swinging and
Right.
climbing, and will climb anything. He'll climb a bookcase. He'll
Yeah.
climb to the top of the tallest diving board at the.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, Carol, because our son actually did that. You know, he was one that hated if somebody would pick him up because the minute his feet would leave the floor, he'd panic. He couldn't go downstairs 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. He had to do both feet together because he said, I always feel like I'm going to tip. Meal
Yes.
times were extremely tough with him. The anxiety over the food looking different, tasting different. It's a darker color than it usually is, or I don't know what seasoning you put in it, or I'm sitting by my sibling and I'm hearing him chewing, or I smell that this one didn't put on deodorant, or I mean, all of these things were impacting our meal times to where we honestly, I would start to get like sweaty palms when it was mealtime because mealtime was so difficult. And, you know, I had come from a home where, you know, we were really close. We were really connected. We also had some pretty strict rules. You know, you sit down, you eat, you clean all of your plate, and then you're done. And there was no way he could ever function that way. And it was going to be too much of a power struggle if we didn't learn to adjust. And it
Yes.
came even in the small ways, like if sitting next to a sibling or smelling a sibling or hearing a sibling chew was too much for him, we had to allow him to go and sit in the dining room. And while we would have all wanted to be together and chosen to be together, just the freedom that he had to do that if he needed reduced the anxiety. And he only did it a couple times. But it really took adjusting on my part to figure out it was going to be battles and we weren't going to connect in any way. And so it really was so important for us to start picking up on those small things.
Yeah. And
Before we continue with the rest of this conversation, I want to take just a quick moment to share something that might be helpful for you in your parenting journey if you're having some of these same kind of struggles. Parenting an emotionally intense child can feel complicated, like you're juggling meltdowns, defiance, and stress every single day. But it doesn't have to be that hard. Imagine this. The next time your child melts down, instead of spiraling into chaos, you know exactly how to respond with calm and confidence. Sounds good, right? Well, that's what the Calm Connection Parent Coaching Program is all about. In this program, I teach simple tools that you can use right in the moment. Tools that don't require hours of reading, expensive appointments, or complicated systems. I'll even show you ways to create calm in less time than it takes to reheat your coffee. Parenting with calm and confidence doesn't have to feel impossible. It can be easier than you think. Join me inside at calmconnectionparent.com and let's get you back on this parenting journey with calm, confidence, and connection. You're probably hearing from the stories I share in this podcast how much I learned through trial and error and the School of Hard Knocks. But that's exactly why I created the Calm Connection Parent Coaching Program, so that I could walk with other families that are on a similar path and give them some of that support, some helpful resources, and just some encouragement along the way. All right, let's jump back into this conversation with Carol.
there's so much in what you were saying, Jamie, because I think parents get emotional about it. They think their child is sabotaging the family time, or they're doing this on purpose, or
Right.
why can't that kid just do what
Just do what's normal, or just do what everybody else does. And you even mentioned, Carol, the child who doesn't want to be hugged. that was really hard. And I know there are many parents that struggle with that. Their child doesn't want to be touched, doesn't want to be hugged. And it can feel as though your child doesn't like you, doesn't love you, isn't connected to you. I had to understand his sensory systems were on overload all the time. So when he walked home from school and the minute he walked in the door, he took everything off but his underwear, he didn't want a hug. He didn't want me to touch him. He was so overstimulated. He just needed downtime. And it freed me up to not take so much of that personal. So that it's interesting that you mentioned the clothing and the hug, both.
Right. And I'll bet your son then went to squeeze himself into a tight space, maybe like wrap himself
He'd wrap up in a chair and just kind of, become a little ball. And then he would just need to unwind with a little bit of TV.
So
he just needed that.
He needed the deep pressure. Because we all need touch. We're nourished by touch. And imagine being inside that little body where the child is fearful of touch because he can't discriminate whether it's benign or hostile, even from mom.
Yeah, it was sad to realize that.
And then he'll go and he'll do something to get tactile input. Some children will go to their bedroom and try to squeeze themselves between the box springs and the mattress. Or they'll get into a sleeping bag and just wrap themselves up in it to get that input. But they are in control.
Right. He would oftentimes go to a trampoline and just jump, or get on a bouncy ball. And he could bounce for 30 or 40 minutes. But it was when he was in his best place. Afterwards, he was such an easy child to deal with once those needs were kind of met and his system could almost reset.
Well, you're talking about self-therapy, which is we have to look at what kids are doing to help themselves. And, if it's wearing the T-shirt inside out, and I write about that in
the out of sync. Okay. Yeah.
The parents don't agree. The mother thinks it's a great idea. The father thinks he should dress appropriately. And so there's a little tangle there. But when we look at what the kids are doing, and here I'll put on my sensory spectacles.
Those are great.
You can
love
get
those
at the dollar store, but
I need a pair of those.
Let's imagine that we put on sensory spectacles and look at what our kids are doing to help themselves, and if they need to back away from the family and eat in another room, if they need time on the therapy ball or the trampoline, let's say, hallelujah, this child. Right. He may not be able to put it into words why this is helpful. Lots of kids don't know what vestibular
why it helps or what they want.
But they have figured out how to do that, and I think that's so important with our goggles on.
Yeah. It really is looking at life with a totally different lens, a different perspective. That's a great explanation for it. A great analogy. Tell me this. I know you have some important things to share with us, but tell me, what does out of sync behavior tell us about sensory input that a child needs or doesn't need?
Well, behavior means something. And when a child cannot, I don't know if this is exactly answering your question, but a child will back away from the finger painting experience that his young preschool classmates are enjoying, because to him it's a threat of some kind. And I think that we just need to see that, take note,
acknowledge it. Yeah.
Yes, we have to acknowledge it.
When we see that behavior happening, maybe we take notice of it and then we try to understand what that means for them.
Yeah. I think people should know that we have 8 sensory systems.
Yeah, that is important because we only
Okay,
learn about 5 in science. So tell us
right,
the 8 systems.
right,
I think that's
right.
important.
Aristotle came up with that number, that there were 5 senses, and we've been stuck with that for, I don't know, 1,000,
Well,
2,000.
we've mothered for many years. I mothered for many years thinking there were only 5 too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the other ones, I mean, touch is considered the primary system. Even in utero, a baby is getting a lot of touching as he's sloshing around inside
Yeah.
the uterus. And the first thing he does when he's born is he gets cuddled, right? And some babies are born and resist those initial
Right.
maternal cuddles, and that's very hard for bonding and
And fussy babies and yeah.
right, right. Well, so the tactile system is our first teacher. Babies learn so much through touching things. And then there are the smelling. Smelling is very important. Here, tasting, of course, is important. Hearing and vision are very dull at birth. It gets, those two senses get refined as the child grows, and of course, by the time the child is at
Yeah.
kindergarten age, he's expected to be listening and seeing um, well. But if he hasn't had a lot of experiences because of sensory problems that prevent him
Right.
from going out, wanting to experience the world and looking at things
Yeah.
afar, that can
Yeah.
jeopardize visual development. And all right, but I'm sorry, I'm digressing. Um, there are
You're
three.
fine.
There are three senses
Yeah.
that Aristotle didn't know about, and a lot of people today don't know about. And I mentioned the proprioceptive sense. This is our awareness of our muscles and joints.
Hmm.
So every time that we stretch or move, we're getting sensations through our muscles and joints.
Yeah.
And when you see children fidgeting in their seats, they are trying to get more proprioception because proprioceptive input helps everything.
Hmm.
Right now, this is only going to take a second. Put your hands on the arms of your chair or the edges of your seat and push yourself up. Press down with your hands and push. That's good. Come down.
Yeah.
Do this 2 more times. Up. All right. And one more time. All right. Fine. Now I'm tingling all through my arms and my neck and my
Yeah.
back. Good. Now I'm ready. All
Yeah.
that's what some kids are trying to do with when they're fidgeting. The
Yeah.
proprioceptive system um, helps us flex, extend,
Hmm.
know how to get into a jacket. So we put one arm in here,
Yeah.
and we put the other arm this way instead of chasing the jacket like a.
Right.
Oh, good proprioception means that we could get dressed in a closet. We could get dressed in the dark. We could find our buttons and buttonholes. We could get our belt through our loops by feel. And you'll
Right.
see kids who don't have good proprioception they need a mirror, or their belt never makes all the loops, because if they can't see it,
Yeah.
they can't feel it and know it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so true.
Okay.
So true.
Then,
Even buttoning shirts can
yeah,
be such a challenge because it's not in front of them to see.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that is so interesting. Are those now? Is that? Did we cover all 8 of them?
No, the vestibular is this
Okay.
our system of balance and movement. Um, Balance, by the way, is not a sense. Balance is a function of the vestibular, the visual, and the proprioceptive senses put
Ah,
together.
interesting. All working together or not working together.
That's right. That's right.
Interesting.
Yes, but it's involved in the vestibular system. So this is all about movement. This is how we move through
Yeah.
space. Um, where our head is in relation to the surface of the earth. Are we upright? Are we lying down? Are we? So you won't ever catch a kid with vestibular differences, I'm sorry, with over-responsive vestibular interpretations on a seesaw or on a swing. So what a therapist would do is put that child who's shaky when his feet are off the ground, she would put that child on a platform suspended from the ceiling and just move it and eats like this to get and the kid can always get off.
Yeah.
That's how you start. And then you go a little more, and then you go a little more.
We did make great strides through occupational therapy and physical therapy, where he would actually, I think when he was maybe 12, could finally cross the monkey bars, which was huge for him. You know, that his feet weren't touching and that he felt safe. And he was so excited when he could go down the stairs like he saw other people going down the stairs.
One foot after the other. Right.
And he didn't feel like he was going to tip. And he said, life just doesn't feel so hard. You know, I think we forget what that feels like for them. You know, why they get crabby, why they get grumpy, why they get set off easy. You know, a sibling bumping them could make them turn physical, and they get physical because their body felt threatened, not because they chose to get physical, but that it was an act of protecting themselves, you know. And those things happen in families, and without that awareness, you know, we're dealing with totally different behaviors. We're dealing with a child who's hitting rather than a child whose system is so overstimulated that they can't tolerate touch.
Or understimulated, and that child needs a lot more.
True.
Okay, one more sense is the interoceptive sense.
Yes.
And this is, we're learning a lot more about that these days. This is the system that regulates heart rate, temperature, sweating, hunger, thirst, urination and defecation, sexual arousal, and, we don't think what our spleen and our gallbladder are doing. We might be aware of what our stomach is telling us or our bladder, but all these interoception is about all of our internal organs. It's like the operations center.
Yeah. The thermostat kind of keeps control of things. Yeah. You know, our son would never register if he was hot or cold. He would run around without clothes on, and we'd be like, aren't you cold? And you would touch his body and he'd be so hot. I mean, it was just like things were mixed up, like miswired or something. You know, he didn't register that. You know, so wearing a coat was a real battle because he didn't know if he was hot or cold. He just knew he didn't want how bunchy it felt in a coat. Right. You know, appetite was very, very poor because he wasn't getting those messages, you know, I'm hungry or I'm thirsty. So it was more by habit. We're all sitting down to eat, but I don't feel hungry. Well, how about we eat just a little bit to be healthy? No, you know, it was really adjusting.
Yeah. He seems like he had a lot of sensory issues. Did he have trouble with potty training also?
Yeah, potty training was really hard.
Yeah, and knowing when to poop is another. Because the sensations they're there, but the central nervous system is as I said before, it's like a traffic jam in the.
That's a good analogy for it, a traffic jam, because they're getting so many messages that they don't know what to do with, and it just kind of backs up. Oh, man, that is so helpful to know. Tell me this, what can a parent or a caregiver do on the spot to help a child get through a difficult sensory moment?
Yeah. Well, I think it's very, very good to be there, for one thing. Mm-hmm. When your child's behavior makes you want to leave the room or the town, turn around and go toward your child, because you have to bear in mind that the kid is in a real tough spot. He is trying to survive. His body is saying, I'm not getting what these sensations mean. I am in peril.
Right.
So I think standing there quietly, don't talk. Talking is lost.
For a system that's already on overwhelm, why overwhelm the auditory, right?
I think being there is just the most emotionally important thing that we can do. And it's being calm. It's not greeting the child's meltdown with your own meltdown. You have to be the grown up in the room.
Right.
And um, I mean, I remember I had a couple of really good parenting moments when my
I bet you had a lot.
when my 16-year-old son was so angry at his older brother that he punched his fist right through the louvered door slats on the
Oh,
linen closet door, pow, like this.
right.
And I was really mad that he did that, but I caught myself and I said, I can see how angry you are. And I opened my arms, and this big, tall guy just wept in my arms. And it was such a relief to him that he didn't have to explain himself or that mom wasn't going to get mad at him. It was a really nice moment. So what I'm saying is be there, and if you can, embrace your child and hug him so tightly that you could break his ribs. Give him well, I mean,
Yeah. It's that
just
deep pressure that is good for their
deep,
system. Yeah.
deep pressure. Occupational therapists will talk about this a lot. Deep pressure pulls gives the kids with the tactile issues the input that they really need. And so try to hug the child, or you can say, let's do a body check. And this is a game that a therapist taught me. You say, let's just see how those muscles are, and with both hands you squeeze. Yeah, those are good. Okay, you can skip the joints, don't push on the joint. Oh, okay, let me see. Oh yeah, your hands are there, and oh yeah, your shoulders are there, and your head. And and maybe not as excited as I'm making it, a little calmer, because calm is the name of the game. But deep pressure in, oh, your thighs, I can feel your thighs. Or don't say anything at all, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Or you could have the child scrunch up. To a little child, you could say,
Mhm.
be an egg.
Yeah.
And that could be the symbol that the child says, okay, I'm going to collapse. And so the child crouches into an egg and hugs it, egg shape, and
Yeah.
hugs himself. And then you could say, when you're ready, be uncooked spaghetti. And little kids kind of like this. And then they
Yeah.
stand and they stretch.
Big and
Be an
tall.
egg.
Oh, that's neat. I love how Carol shares this information about the sensory processing and how our kiddo systems work. I love the energy that she shares these different ideas with us. And there's even more to this interview with Carol, but I know this podcast has gotten long. I just want you to know that if you're interested in hearing more of the speakers that we had in the Calm Connection Parenting Summit last year, you can still get those episodes. So be sure to join the Calm Connection Parenting Facebook group, where we are going to be giving more information on how you can listen to those sessions that you may have missed last year, including the end of Carol's. And I love how she helped us just really take a look at the world through our kiddos' eyes, understanding the things that are hard for them, understanding their needs, and more than anything, just really working to connect. I love the story that she shared about her teenager that just melted in her arms even after he knew he'd lost control of his emotions, because that trust and that connection was there. And really, that's what we're shooting for, to connect with our child's heart and to help them become all they were created to be, despite the challenges that they face, in addition to the unique wiring and learning all of those things about controlling their emotions and figuring out their behaviors, learning to advocate for themselves. We are just trying to nurture them to be the child they were created to be. And it's a pretty important role to play. So stay tuned in the coming weeks. We have another surprise for you. Tune in next week and find out more in the Calm Connection Facebook group. Until then, keep on keeping on. That's it for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take a quick minute to follow and share it with a friend who's looking for tools to parent those big emotions? And don't forget to join the Calm Connection Parenting Facebook group. This is where I can connect with you and offer support as you walk this journey. All right, I'll let you decide whether to fluff or fold that laundry now. But I'll meet you back here next week. Until then, keep calm and parent on.